Hey everyone, how's it going? So today's video is going to be me reacting to Joe Rogan Experience episode 2509. I'm just giving my 2 cents extra depth on some of the conversation pieces that they have. I've noticed with podcasts, there's a lot of talk, and that's great to get ideas going and flowing, but there's not a lot of depth in them. And that's just, I think, kind of the nature of the beast with podcasts, depending on how you structure it, of course. So anyways, my whole goal here is to just give more depth to it and add in what I believe they're getting at and what I think is going on. I just want to make it clear that I don't have anything against anyone just because I'm putting a critique or a review or looking on what they're saying. If I laugh at something they say, that's not me just hating on them. Maybe I just think they're exceedingly wrong. Or if there's stuff I agree with too. So anyways, I just want to make that clear. I don't think either of these two gentlemen are bad people. I just think that they had an interesting conversation that needed more context, to it is all. Okay, yes, I'm going to be skipping around because I'm not going to play the full 2-hour podcast. I'm probably going to break this up into 2 pieces because it's a lot. And I'm just going to try to jump to timestamps where they're talking. I'm not trying to take anything out of context. This is a free episode. You can go look at it yourself if you're confused. And I will try to put in timestamps of all the places that I jumped to or close to. And yeah, we'll just go from there.
Right.
So the student loan, a public student loan, it's actually a 10-year payment. That's the standard. It's a 10-year payment. You'll be done in 10, but people stretch it to 20 years. The repayment assistance under Trump, the RAP plan, that can be as little as 1% of your income on a monthly basis. That'll never be paid off.
Never.
Those people will have it forever.
Forever.
That's true. Yeah, this is super bad. It's bad. And a lot of people look at it as like, oh, this is like financial relief. This is such a good idea. It's not. It's just stretching your payments out forever, and you'll never get out of debt, and you'll never pay it off. It's insidious because it's getting you on the hook for longer.
It'll be forgiven in 40 years, it says. We'll see, because, it's new. But when people are doing that, they're going to have it forever. It's going to balloon, and then they're going to complain about it when they chose not to just take the standard 10-year plan.
I saw an article about people.
The thing I wanted to say about that is the idea that people are kind of like too lazy. They're just being lazy. And that's not really the case. We got to keep in mind the context here. Joe Rogan is a multimillionaire. Caleb Hammer is also a multimillionaire. They're doing just fine for themselves. And my belief is that once you get to that level of wealth, these high-end multimillionaire, you really get disconnected from reality. And we see it more clearly with billionaires. Just the way their worldview is just way different than you would imagine. I don't agree that it's laziness. I think it's more to do with people aren't taught finances. They aren't taught our economy. They're not taught that in school. When you're going through K through 12, you're not taught, hey, you should do this and do that. There's very, very little of that now. American schools are pretty well known for being pretty bad, and they're not very good at teaching life skills, finances, and it's not just the schools that need to teach this. The parents need to teach this as well. You can't just pass everything onto the schools. However, our schools are very lackluster in America, and the bigger the school with more people going to it, the worse off it is, in my opinion. They don't do well. Again, it's not a matter of you're lazy. It's more along the lines of, I'm going to do this now, get this thing I needed, this loan I needed, bring it down low, and then I'm sure most of those people, the majority of them, they have this idea that, hey, once I graduate or something like that, or once I get to this point, I'm going to be able to pay that off so quickly. And then that point keeps getting pushed back and back, or it never comes because life didn't play out or pan out the way they were told it would or thought it would or sold it was sold it was going to pan out. That I don't believe in just, it's too simple of a rhetoric narrative to just say, oh, you're just lazy. You're just lazy. Well, yes, there is laziness and people can be lazy, but I have worked many different jobs in many different fields, and I've seen lazy Americans, but the vast majority of Americans I see are very hardworking. They're they're really hardworking. So I don't agree with
Out of
that.
college, you want to get an apartment, you want to live it up, you want to go on nice dates and trips, all that good stuff. So you do the little minimum monthly payment. But let me think about it. I assume you have a mortgage, right? Do you have a mortgage?
Yeah.
Okay. If you took that 30-year mortgage, but you're like, okay, I want to pay a smaller amount now.
Mhm.
So let's stretch it to 60 years. The interest in
Right, exactly. You want to pay a smaller amount now, but then you stretch out. And that's exactly what Joe was talking about too, is that you can set your interest rate so low and stretch it so far out. Say you buy something for $60,000, but by the time you pay it off, you've paid maybe $100,000 into it, depending on, the terms of agreement. That's crazy. But, that's the point that they're getting at, that is so bad here. So destructive. It's borderline predatory in my
overall
opinion.
payment you're going to do is insane.
Right.
So the student loan, a public student loan, it's actually a 10-year payment. That's the standard. It's a 10-year payment. You'll be done in 10, but people stretch it to 20 years. The repayment assistance under Trump, the RAP plan, that can be as little as 1% of your income on a monthly basis. That'll never be paid off.
Yeah, that's terrible. Again, this is, in my opinion, predatory lending. I haven't looked through the RAP plan, the repayment assistance plan, but most plans that have that kind of stuff, they'll still penalize you for missed payments and stuff like that and up the interest if something happens. And you never know as well how these things will shake out over that long of a period. That's why home loans are not typically mortgaged past, I think 30 years is kind of the maximum amount of years that someone can mortgage a house, because the risk for the lender for the loan, so the bank, is too high. As time increases on a loan out to something, if you're looking at it from the bank's point of view, your risk increases as the time increases. It doesn't decrease. It goes up because it gets longer. Because you're looking at someone who says, I'm 20 years old and I want a mortgage for this house, and I want to mortgage it for 50 years. That's one of the things that Trump said a while back. Just dumb nonsense. Just using it as an example. So you're looking at a 20-year-old, and by the time that loan is paid, they will be 70 if they make every single payment on time. That is crazy. That's insane. The level of risk a bank would be taking on to do that, they would they just be like, I'm never going to get my money on a deal like that unless it's backed by the government or something if they default, which is not what we want. That's not a solution either. So yeah, anyways, it's a great point that both of these guys are making.
Those people will have it forever.
Forever.
It'll be forgiven in 40 years, it says. We'll see, because, it's new. But when people are doing that, they're going to have it forever. It's going to balloon, and then they're going to complain about it when they chose not to just take the standard 10-year plan.
Right. And they chose not to take the standard 10-year plan because they're probably going to afford it. And yeah, that kind of boils down to our economy not being very.
Social Security,
Yeah.
2033, that's when the funds dry. So payments get cut by
Is it really that soon?
25%. Yeah.
2033 is when the funds dry up for Social Security?
Yeah, the actual fund that's sitting there. So every dollar that goes out is money that's coming in. That's projected 2033.
Well, we have to pay for transgender migrants.
Okay. So yeah, Social Security is estimated to dry up in 2033. There's a really simple solution to this. I don't know why this is so debated and everything. I don't understand. Just increase the contribution and benefit base and you're done. That's it. It's the taxable maximum or the taxable wage base. Right now in 2026, it's $184,500. I'll put a little thing up here so you can read it yourself as well. Just increase that. Like, easy. And it's tiered too. So if you don't make $184,500 in a year, you're not obviously going to be taxed to that point. I think the tax is at 6.2% right now. So it takes 6.2% of all your wages for the year and contributes it to Social Security. But if you earn so much that your 6.2% would be over 184,500, it stops. All we have to do is change that law, is just say, hey, you know what? If 6.2% of your income is above $184,500, you are clearly doing super well. You probably don't even need Social Security, but you're paying into it, so you'll get it. However, you're going to contribute more because you clearly can afford to. It needs to be adjusted. Social Security needs to be adjusted for the times instead of being left in the past like it was. I believe Social Security was created in 1937. And the starting amount for 1937 to 1950 was $3,000 a year. Obviously, you got to adjust for inflation, all that stuff. However, it does increase. It's been increasing over the years, but the law itself just needs to be amended and say, hey, you know what? We're going to have this special law for people that are high earners. It's not to penalize them for earning because they're still going to get the benefit as well, but they clearly don't need the benefit, but they are a part of our society and they need to pay into it. They're part of the system. They're part of the economy. You couldn't have the people that are successful here in America couldn't be successful elsewhere for the vast majority of them. It's because of America. It's because of our infrastructure. It's because of our government. And it's because of our society that they were able to even come up and be as successful as they are. And they can totally afford to. We're not trying to kill the golden goose or squeeze water out of a rock. It's just to say, hey, this needs to change. It needs to be adjusted for reality or modern times, I suppose is the way to say it.
Around $2 to $5 million, depending on exact assumptions.
Okay, I'll stop it right there. That's extremely important what the assumptions are. So saving 5 to 10% per month in the S&P 500. Okay, it's an index fund. You're just tracking the S&P 500. So that's where the exact assumptions come in and who you broker through, because retail trading was still coming out. It was not very big, and there was lots of fees for trades where you pay per trade or per total dollar amount or percentage of the total dollar amount for the trade. So there's a lot of assumptions in this. I would say is that it was a different time to a degree. I'm not trying to just run defense for people who couldn't invest or didn't think to. The biggest hurdle towards this being real is this is 2020. Hindsight's 2020. You can look back and go, "Whoa, wow, you should have done this." It's like, well, yeah, clearly, but when I was in the moment, I couldn't think to do that. I didn't have the idea to. And now more than ever, finance is talked about in America in a broad scale and in a very scammy way as well, where people are trying to take advantage of others and take their money. So back then, you didn't have, 1990? Yeah, there was no social media. There wasn't internet was barely running up and moving. And a lot of people didn't even know what any of this stuff was, that there was an S&P 500. It's kind of annoying to see that they'd be like, oh, well, you should have done this. That would have been the answer. And it's like, well, yeah, but no one knew about that back then, or the people that did, it was a very niche group. Wall Street was even smaller and tighter than ever before. Your average American, because he says the average U.S. salary, has no idea. They just sign the paperwork. They have a 401k or a pension, probably a 401k because it's the 90s, with their boss or with the employer, and that's it. And they just go to work, and that's their life, and they have no financial literacy around it. So to then go look back at that and be like, whoa, why didn't you do that? It's like, it was a different time, you guys. It was a different time.
$1,000 salary. That's what I'm saying. This is hard for me to, and we have
information. That's the thing. They didn't have the information. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you didn't know us. They didn't have the information for that kind of stuff. The information now is way more readily accessible than ever before.
Income in the history of the world.
This is how crazy inflation is. The average salary in 1990 was $21,000.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? Imagine if someone told you had to live off $21,000 today. You'd be like, oh, fuck.
And yeah, even
yeah, there's a lot of people that do live off of $21,000 or less. And that's the thing that really brings out the disconnect here. It's like, imagine if you had to do that. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of people that do, man. There's a lot of people.
Are multimillionaires. Even with that. It's beautiful.
That is nuts if you know how to do it. But how would someone start doing something like that?
Right. So what he's about to say, because I've watched this a couple times, is good advice. However, take that back into the 1990s and try to think about how would someone even do something like that back in the 1990s? There wasn't retail investing. If there was, it was very niche, and there were still fees attached to everything. You had to know that there was such a thing as a brokerage account and a broker and this, all this stuff. So to argue that point back in the day versus now, even now, we still have people with social media and all this stuff that has tons of information available to you. You don't even need a library anymore. You can just Google search things, and we still don't have very much engagement in the stock market as far as how many people are affected by it versus how many people are investing in it. I think more people should be saving and investing for retirement, and there's not as many as I believe there should be. I think it's like 40% of Americans have a retirement or something like that. I could be really wrong on that. I'm just shooting off the top of my head.
Cost index funds. I'm sure you got a money guy, but for the average American, there's these target date retirement funds.
Target date retirement funds are great. Most of your 401k managers through your employer is probably already utilizing one of those. But if you don't have an employer that offers a 401k, you can go to websites like Fidelity and Charles Schwab and stuff, and E-Trade, and talk to them on the phone, learn how to set up a brokerage account, and then just get a target date fund that is your age that you think you're going to retire at. He'll explain a little bit more here.
So Fidelity or whatever you want to use, they have essentially just pick like within the 5 years that you think you're going to retire, you just buy into that, and it balances it for you. It goes more aggressive now and just more conservative by the time you retire. It's so easy. There's no reason most people aren't doing it, even in their 401k where it's free money matches and everything.
Biggest reason I think people aren't doing that is because they don't know about it. That's the biggest. The biggest.
You know what scares me though? People in our position right now, people under 30, 60% of them are doing their portfolio trades based on the podcasters they're listening to. That's what's scary.
That is super scary. Yes, you should not be taking advice from podcasters or streamers, Twitch streamers. Yeah, you shouldn't be. Don't do that. I use Fidelity. I'm not sponsored by them. I use them, and I've called them in the past and just asked questions, and they've helped me understand more complex financial terms and financial vehicles and stuff like that. So yes, I 100% agree with this.
Really?
Yeah, 60%.
Which podcasts are giving them advice?
Any personal finance. Any personal finance. No, even on like Kick or Twitch, there's streamers. Mm-hmm. I'll log on in the morning, just see who's streaming, and some of the top viewed people are day traders.
Really?
With like 25,000 concurrent viewers that are.
That's crazy. That's bad and crazy, and hopefully you don't get caught up in that.
So it's a good place to insider trade, and he made some money. But I think I listened on the news this morning. It said 4 people close to him reported him, though. So, yeah.
Well, when you're that kind of a fraudster, allegedly, and that kind of a liar, allegedly, you.
Why is he saying allegedly? They're talking about George Santos. He was a politician. Oh, what was his? Let me look him up real quick. Yeah, it was New York. He's a House representative for New York. He's a convicted felon. So I don't know why Joe Rogan's saying allegedly. You don't have to cover your ass for saying, dude, you're a convicted felon. Oh, I'm going to sue you for slander. You are. It's fact. You can't be sued for slander or defamation off of fact. He's a convicted felon. None of this is alleged. George Santos is a grifter. He's garbage. He's your quintessential trash politician who will lie to your face and sell you down the river to make a quick buck, which is what they're talking about. I do not understand why Joe Rogan does not just, when you're that big and you're a liar and you're a fraudster, just that's it. You don't have to say allegedly. He was found guilty in a court of law. So I don't know. I just wanted to stop in and say that on.
There's a lot of people that got pardoned where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
The Biden thing was nuts, where they pardoned more people than ever, any president ever. And how much of it was done with the auto pen? So he's literally barely there, right? We all agree at this point. I mean, there used to be dispute. Oh, yeah, it was a stutter. We all now say he was barely there. So someone else was doing that. So what's the legality of that? What is the legality of selling pardons.
And the preemptive pardons too.
Oh, those are nuts.
Yeah.
Those. How about for crimes that just don't exist?
Yeah.
There's no. You're not accused of anything. What'd you do? He did not receive a pardon. His prison sentence was commuted by President Donald Trump, which let him out of prison early, but left his convictions in place.
I just want to say this is ridiculous. Presidents shouldn't be able to pardon people. It's a power that the founders brought in from years past of kings being able to pardon people. It has no place in modern day society, in my opinion. As you can see, Joe Biden was using it for a bunch of trash and just pardoning whoever he wanted. And every single president has done it. The way it's being used now politically is just as a political lever, like leverage or a weapon to pardon people who are ideologically, politically aligned with you and strengthen your political party. There is nothing much else to do with what is actually right or, hey, you were wrongfully convicted. They'll give some lip service to that, but that whole pardon should go away. We shouldn't have pardons in America.
Interesting. In October of 2025, Trump signed a commutation with for former Representative George Santos, ordering his immediate release from federal prison, where he was serving a roughly 7-year sentence for fraud and identity theft. Commutation shortens or eliminates the punishment, but does not erase the conviction or declare the person innocent, unlike a full pardon. Trump said Santos had been horribly mistreated and had spent long periods in solitary confinement, which Trump framed as too harsh for a rogue politician compared with others. Commentators widely interpret the move as fitting Trump's pattern of granting clemency to political allies and loyalists rather than based on traditional justice system criteria. I mean, look, it's a weird thing that you could do. The fact that you're the president and you could just say, what did you do? You robbed a bank? You're sorry. Get free. Meanwhile,
yeah, I agree. It's a weird thing. It's a bad thing. We got to get rid of it. That would be a nice thing to get rid of.
I think you're absolutely correct about the political capture, but I think it's also manipulated. And that still doesn't account for who's funding the DA campaigns. And the fact that Soros does get involved in these kind of things, and not just him, but others as well.
Others as well, like Elon Musk, one of the most well-known ones. But Joe Rogan won't say that because he's his buddy. He's doing that. If you got a friend that's doing wrong, you got a friend that's doing weird, crazy stuff, you got to that's part of being a friend, is telling them like, hey, knock it off. What are you doing? I don't know if they're actually like friends or if they're just business friends, but he likes to rip on George Soros. That's fine. I'm not here to defend him. But in the same breath, you have enough air in your lungs to say, and Elon Musk and others like Mark Zuckerberg and all of them, that just a lot of them stay to the political lobbying part. They're not as flamboyant as Elon Musk.
I think he truly believes in it, though. Like, this is the right thing. Like,
Well,
we have a prison issue.
No, I don't think so. I think he banks on it. I mean, he's made money off of collapsing societies.
So yeah, Joe Rogan is super against George Soros and is like, hey, he's collapsing societies and stuff. That's sure. I'm not going to argue against that. I don't know enough about the guy outside of, I know that he's pretty much, in my opinion, the left billionaire, whereas Elon Musk is the right billionaire. He's on the right. He's the billionaire for the right. I mean, the right has a lot of billionaires. Trump is a billionaire. The vast majority of Trump's cabinet is billionaires, which would mean our democracy is actually an oligarchy, not a democracy. It's being treated as such as well, where you can come up to Trump and give him golden trinkets and he'll cut out special carvings and executive orders for you. It's crazy. So not to knock Joe Rogan, but it's just to say, hey, man, call it as it is. Don't try to say one thing and not the other, because it makes your story kind of fall apart when you do say the whole story. And I mean, he's been at the White House. He's been in the Oval Office with Trump. You have to take that in consideration when you're listening to what he says. You have to know his connections. It's just like with what we learned back in the day with businesses, where you go, oh, I didn't know that Johnson & Johnson also held this company, or this company also owned that company. And, oh, that makes sense now because they're all connected and that's why they'd want this to happen. You know, it's almost the exact same, where you got to know, oh, well, he's friends with this person and that person's friends with that person and she's friends with this person. And so they all know each other and that's why they're doing what they're doing. It's sad. It's a sad reality, but it's the reality that I guess we were born into.
Every independent report says, yes, it'll capture tens of billions quickly, but it'll lose hundreds of billions over the long term because the wealth that you tax on a yearly basis is just leaving.
It's not just that. It's a slippery slope.
Okay, so this YouTuber, Money and Macro, does a great job explaining this. He's an economist. I'll post his video in the description and I'll try to link it on the screen. I'm not entirely sure how to do that yet, so I'll try. He has a great video that kind of breaks that down, and it's more about the structuring and the policy of how that functions and works rather than just blanket term, if you do it, it's not going to work. Also, exit taxes, where you'll tax someone if they try to leave your country kind of deal, which is really the reason a lot of them will leave, because they'll pay that one-time exit fee and then they'll set up somewhere else and make it all back plus some. Yeah, so I'll link his video in the description of this video. It's really, really good. You got to listen through it all the way through. It's not a short video because a lot of these complex topics, that's why you can't do it in a short, you can't do it in a TikTok. They're too complex. You miss too much nuance and detail as to why it might have worked for this state and not for that state or whatever it might have been. Yeah. So I don't believe Joe Rogan and Caleb Hammer are aware of this type of nuance to it. They probably know the same surface level talking points that a lot of people do, where they go, oh, if you tax wealth, they'll leave. I know that if I had money and someone wanted to take my money, they'd leave. However, if you watch this whole podcast multiple times, Joe and Caleb Hammer say, I got no problem paying more in taxes. I don't mind. They are making so much money. They don't mind paying more. And they already pay in the millions. Caleb Hammer says that he paid like $4 million in taxes. They just don't want it to go to waste or fraud or whatever. I totally agree. No one wants their tax dollars to go to fraud or wasteful spending. Great point that they hit on tons in here. That's why I didn't clip it, because they talk about it throughout the whole podcast, is that spending or wasting money on cosmetic surgeries for people that you don't need cosmetic surgery for, to have your breasts increase or decrease or whatever it might end up being. That's the example that they use. It was like someone in jail had to get cosmetic surgery. It's like, no, you're in jail. Like, you don't get to have cosmetic surgery. You don't get taxpayer money for that. That's insane to me. That's just such a waste of money. You're in jail. You broke the law. And now the state is going to give you money for cosmetic surgery. Where are our priorities? I would love to hear an argument that supports that, because I don't understand that. I don't think that's a thing that should be happening. I'll let him finish talking here.
It might start with billionaires. It'll work its way down. It'll work its way down to thousandaires.
No, this is wrong and dumb. This is why I think that Joe is compromised or co-opted or whatever it is, deeply influenced by billionaires. We already know the tax cuts. Go look at the one big beautiful bill. Who got the biggest tax cuts? It was the wealthiest. And while the percentage might be small, it's a huge amount for them, because 1% of $1 million is way more than 5% of $10,000. So this is, it's going to work its way down to thousandaires. Oh, I'm a thousandaire. Oh no, no, you're already getting screwed over by this trickle down economic garbage from, what was it? The Reagan administration. It's trash. So this is garbage. I'll let them finish talking.
Taxes typically have.
They always do. As soon as and also they have the ability to change the goalposts once the bill gets passed.
They're screwing over now because they refuse to tax the wealthy. We're going to protect you because we're the front of the line. We're going to stop them from taxing us, because if they tax me, the billionaire, who are they going to tax next? They're going to tax you. You're going to get taxed. Well, one, I already get taxed. And two, this doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way. They're trying to sell themselves as like saviors. Like, oh no, we know how it really works. They'll come for you next. No, they won't. They already come for us. I get tax audited. You get tax audited. These multimillionaires, and especially the billionaires who have entire teams, entire law firms of lawyers, they don't They don't go after them. It's too expensive. They can't afford to. And they can't afford to go after them and then lose. So this is garbage. This is just trash talking.
Bill gets passed. They don't have to have you vote on who gets taxed more. And we can just decide. Like Bernie Sanders used to rail against millionaires. It always used to be millionaires. All these millionaires, that's the problem. They're not paying and now it's billionaires. Why? Because Bernie's a millionaire now.
I would disagree with that. I think that it's because either he learned that like the real problem is billionaires. The biggest problem is the highest concentration of wealth that we have. That is what is driving inequality. And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like, oh, there's $1 to be shared between all of us. It's the way our laws in America, our American style capitalism is structured to take and redistribute. A lot of people are very against that. They're like, well, that's communism. You're redistributing wealth. Well, the American government's been doing that for like 100 years at least, since maybe even 1907. What do you think a subsidy is? What do you think subsidies for farmers are? Like, where does the government get that money? From the taxpayer, and then gives it to the farmer. So anyways, this is what I mean. It's shallow. You could just never, there was some sort of law that said you can never have $1 billion in wealth or something. You can only be capped. I don't even know how that would work, because you're talking about money, cash, and accounts and liquidity versus like asset and net wealth, which wouldn't make sense, because Elon Musk is a trillionaire, but not in dollars. He's a trillionaire in total assets. He could never cash out and just hold $1 trillion, or just have $1 trillion on a card. That wouldn't that wouldn't be a thing. So yeah, anyways, this is more of Joe. It's amazing to me. I haven't listened to Joe Rogan in like a year, maybe 2 years. And I listen to him here and there, and he's really big on defending billionaires. Dude, they got a ton of money already to defend themselves. Maybe that's what they spent it on. Maybe they spent it on Joe. It's just kind of amazing to see.
Don't understand. Like, there's a giant number of kids today that come out of the university system that think that communism is the solution. They genuinely believe in it.
Yeah,
it's very scary, because you're literally saying, first of all, how does that get enforced? How do you think it gets enforced? How does it work? Who tells the people that they have to give up their money?
The government, the same people that tell you in a capitalist system that you have to give up your money. So I'm not here to defend communism. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it'll work. But what I will point out that I think is getting missed is, why are these younger kids looking towards communism with high hopes? Because the current system doesn't work for them. If you go to work every day and you get punched in the face, if you go through the left door, but when you go through the right door, you don't get punched in the face, then you're probably going to go through the right door. If something's not working for you, it's human nature to try to find a solution for it. While I don't think communism is the solution, what I do see is that communism and socialism get convoluted together a lot. They get mixed up a ton, and they're different. And I honestly do believe that with a healthy capitalist economy, a capitalist-based economy, you can have socialist policies that work for your society to kind of fill in the gaps that the capitalist structure can't account for. I don't think you can do that with communism. Communism is a completely restructuring of like government and economics and everything. I don't have time in this video to go through why I don't think communism is a good choice. I see the one successful communist country is China, but they have capitalist markets. They have a lot of capitalist markets. They didn't at first. It was just command economy and pointing and dictating. And there's still dictators and authoritarian regimes and one-party rule, which is terrible. But they do have capitalist markets, just to make that clear. However, getting back to how capitalism and socialism work together is, you have all the opportunity and entrepreneurship through capitalism, and you have growth and independence and your individualities, and you can grow and compete. That's what we need. We need competition in a capitalist economic structure. We lack a lot of that in America. And I think that's what we're seeing, a lot of rot in our capitalist structure right now. American capitalism, all capitalism will try to go towards monopolies, and you need to break that up to keep it competitive, to keep prices doing what prices do, which is allocate resources. Now, what's the note I made here? Right. So the socialism part comes in with policies as like a net. So if you wanted to think, well, we're a capitalist country right now, there's no socialism in America. That's not true. You have Social Security. It's literally in the name. You have roads, public roads. That's a socialist policy. You have public firefighters. That's a socialist policy. You have police officers. That's also a socialist policy. And on the flip side, you have massive bailouts for companies and corporations and private wealth, where the government, like SVB, will just Silicon Valley Bank, will just bail out the bank and be like, yeah, I know FDIC only covers 250,000, but we're just going to cover all your deposits instead. Please don't be mad. So there are socialist policies in America, again, like public roads and public schools. That's another one. And look at the defunding of that. It blows me away. I just want to say on education, we should fund education more than we unfund it or defund it. It blows me away. So many people look at a school that's not doing well and they're like, we should cut its funding. I was like, wouldn't that be the school that needs the funding because it's not doing well? Couldn't you kind of like help it out maybe? So it's kind of crazy to me, the backwardsness that people have. I could do the same thing. Hey, this business, this startup doesn't have any money. It's asking me for money as an investor. I'm not going to fund it. Not going to fund you. You're not profitable. And they go, well, I can be profitable. You just have to give me some money. No. No, that's the same attitude we have with public schools. So, oh, your test scores are low. I'm not going to fund you, because education is an investment. It's an investment in human capital. It's an investment in a more educated society that can take on more complex jobs and be higher skilled workers and be a part of society and community that functions well together. But we got to stop breaking apart from each other and being put into echo chambers and divided by big tech overlords to be able to work together and actually have community. A little rant here. One of the worst things that came out of the past for America is that the customer's always right. I hate that. That is such a level of entitlement. The customer's always right. No, you're not. I'm a customer a lot of the times and I'm dead wrong. I don't know how to fix a car. I'll bring my car in. I'm going to be like, I'm right. Fix my car this specific way. Or, oh, make my burger this way. The customer's not always right. You're Karen if you think so. That is just, that's why Americans get so entitled. For decades, they were told, you're right. You're right. You know why they told you that? Because they want your money. They don't really care about you. They just want your money.
I'll give them some credit. I'll give them a little bit of grace. Sure, I think they're a little retarded, but I'll give them some grace. A lot of times when you ask them, those people that come out of college, what communism is, they think it's like Scandinavia.
Okay.
And socialism. That's how they define it. Not like very literal. And those aren't socialists.
This is a great point. Yeah. A lot of people don't know what communism is. They don't know what capitalism is. They don't know what socialism is. They don't know what fascism is. They know of it. All right. So I'm going to stop there for now. This is going to be like a 2-part thing, or maybe even a 3, because these are long videos, long podcasts, and then I'm stopping them and talking on top of them. If you like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought. This is probably going to be 2-3-part video because these are long podcasts and I'm trying to add a little more context and depth to them. Share it, like, subscribe, and if you have an idea for something you'd like me to talk about in regards to this specific podcast or in general, let me know. That'd be great. Have a great day.